Alright, so we're going to take a look at additional usage rules of the definite article the and the indefinite article a and an. Let's look at the first one. Countable versus uncountable nouns. Now, as the name suggests, countable nouns are nouns that I can count, right? For example, a pen, an apple, a book. It is also represented by numbers, right? So I can say 2 apples, 2 pens, 2 books, 2 chairs. Okay, so if you look at this, concrete nouns usually are countable. What are concrete nouns? Concrete nouns are nouns that you experience with all your 5 senses, whatever you can see, hear, touch, feel and smell, right? So he ate an apple for a snack. Now, apple and snack are concrete nouns. I can see the color of the apple, I can taste it, I can feel it in my hands, right? So in this case, I can count the apple and the snack. Collective nouns are also countable. For example, the teams played well. So here, teams is my collective noun, but I can count the number of teams that played, right? Proper nouns. Sometimes proper nouns are also countable. For example, there are many Indians living in New York. I know Indian is a proper noun, right? It's the name of a particular individual. But in this case, it's acting as a countable noun because I can count the number of Indians living in New York. Now, we're going to look at how a countable noun takes up either a definite or an indefinite article using certain examples. So here in these sentences or examples, let's take a look at the first one. The guest of honor arrived late. So here, because the noun is singular and it takes up the definite article the guest of honor arrived late. Here, you are welcome as a guest in our home. So here, it takes up the indefinite article, right? So when the noun is singular, countable nouns either take up the definite article or the indefinite article. Now when the noun is plural, in this case, the guests at your party yesterday made a lot of noise. So when the noun is plural and it is referring to a specific group of people, so it is specifically talking about the guests at this party, so then it will take up the definite article the. But in a general sense, it does not take up either the definite or the indefinite article. So there's no article required if it's coming in a general sense, like in this case, guests are welcome here anytime. So this is a general sense. This takes up the definite article when you are referring to a specific group of people. And it takes up either the definite or the indefinite article when the noun is singular. Okay? Alright, so let's understand uncountable nouns, right? Uncountable nouns. Now what are uncountable nouns? Uncountable nouns are names of persons or objects which obviously cannot be counted, and they also refer to substances that cannot be separated or counted individually. For example, rice, milk, sugar. It can also refer to abstract things, like an idea or a concept or a quality, for example, honesty, or a state of liquid, any liquids, water, juice, or a concept like freedom or courage. Okay, so now abstract nouns, like I said, I fought for my freedom. So the freedom there is my uncountable noun. Concrete nouns, may I borrow some rice? So I know concrete nouns are something that can be experienced by any one of the 5 senses. So I know I can eat rice, but here some rice, so obviously I'm not counting the rice, so it's uncountable. Now usually uncountable nouns do not require any article at all. They don't take up the article. They can come without any article. For example, information is wealth. So here information is my uncountable noun and I don't have an article preceding it, either a definite or an indefinite article. However, in this case, here if you see, the information in your files is correct. Here, I'm taking the definite article the and placing in front of the uncountable noun only because it is referring to a specific information that is presented in these files. So again, when it refers to a specific group, idea, or something very specific, to objects or people, then I will use the definite article the. Now there are certain nouns that take up both an uncountable and a countable meaning. Let's look at some examples. For example, countable meaning is mostly concrete and specific. So I've had some difficulties finding a job. Here, some difficulties falls under the countable meaning because I understand that there is a specific number of problems or issues in finding the job. So I know how many problems that I've gone through or had to face. In this sense, she succeeded in school with little difficulty. Here, the same word, difficulty, falls under a non-countable meaning because it just generally says that maybe school was difficult. So in this sense, I'm not able to count the difficulty that she went through. So here, if you look at difficulty, it takes up the countable meaning as well as the non-countable meaning. We saw the first usage of the definite and the indefinite article in countable versus uncountable nouns. The second one is first versus subsequent. What is this now? Now, every time you want to introduce something new or you're saying it for the first time, then you use the indefinite article a and an. But if you're going to talk about the same noun or refer to it at a later point of time or subsequently, then you use the definite article the. So let's take an example. There is a crow in the tree outside my window. So the first time I'm introducing you to the crow outside my window in the tree, I'm using the indefinite article. But the subsequent sentence or the sequence, when my dog barks, the crow flies away. So I'm referring to the same crow, then I use the definite article. So for example, I can say, I have a 3-bedroom house in Ameerpet. I have a 3-bedroom house in Ameerpet. The house also has a swimming pool. So when I'm referring to the same house, I use the definite article the second time. Alright, let's move to the third additional usage. The third additional usage is general versus specific. Now let's look at the examples. A tiger is a dangerous animal. Here I'm referring to any tiger, any individual tiger, right? So I use the indefinite. The tiger is a dangerous animal. Here I'm specifying all tigers. Tiger as a category. Yeah. Okay, so if you look at these, here I have not used any article. The third one, tigers are dangerous animals. Plural noun tigers do not or does not take up any article, right? And this one here, it's an uncountable noun. I don't need an article preceding this. Anger is a destructive emotion, any kind of anger. Okay? Now let's look at the omission of articles in certain categories.